In a small village, cradled by endless green fields and the gentle whisper of flowing rivers, lived a boy named Riyan. He was not like other boys his age. While they played carefree in the meadows, content with simple joys, Riyan carried something different inside him, a burning flame that refused to be extinguished. Fire blazed in his heart. Dreams sparkled in his eyes like stars refusing to fade at dawn. Every morning, as he watched his mother's weathered hands prepare their meager breakfast, he made a silent promise. I will study hard. I will make something of myself. I will lift my family out of this poverty that has crushed us for generations. His father had died when Riyan was young, leaving behind only debt and broken dreams. His mother worked in the fields from sunrise to sunset, her youth stolen by labor, her back bent by the weight of survival. Riyan saw it all, felt it all, and the pain of their struggle became fuel for his ambition. But there was one enemy, one invisible, relentless enemy that stood between Riyan and everything he wanted to become. His own restless, untamed mind. The battle within. Riyan would sit at his small wooden desk, the oil lamp flickering beside his worn textbooks, determination burning in his chest. Tonight, he would tell himself, tonight I will study for hours. I will master these chapters. I will become someone. He would open the book, his eyes scanning the first line, the second line. And then, like a traitor from within, his mind would slip away. A memory from childhood would surface. A conversation from yesterday would replay. The song of a distant bird would suddenly demand his attention. The rustle of wind through the window would pull his focus like an invisible thread. He would blink, shake his head, force himself back to the page. But within minutes, his thoughts would drift again, floating away like autumn leaves on a river, beyond his control, beyond his reach. When friends called his name from outside, laughing and carefree, his resolve would crumble like sand. Just for a few minutes, he would tell himself, I'll study later. There's still time. But those few minutes would stretch into hours, and the night would end with nothing accomplished, nothing learned, nothing changed. He wanted success with every fiber of his being, but his own mind was sabotaging him, dragging him down into the quicksand of distraction, again and again and again. The weight of failure. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Riyan watched his friends move forward like ships catching the wind, excelling in their studies, earning scholarships, making their families proud. They were sailing toward their futures while he remained anchored to the shore, watching helplessly as opportunities drifted past. The exams came. Riyan had studied, or at least he had tried to study, but scattered effort yields scattered results. When the results were announced, Riyan's name fell far below where he knew it should be. The disappointment in his mother's eyes, quickly hidden behind a forced smile, cut deeper than any words could. It's okay, Beta, she said softly, her rough hand touching his cheek. You'll do better next time. But Riyan saw through her gentle lie. He saw the worry lines deepening on her forehead. He saw her glance at the pile of unpaid bills on the shelf. He saw her silent prayer that her son would somehow, someday, find his way. That night, Riyan lay on his thin mattress, staring at the ceiling as moonlight crept through the cracks in the roof. His chest felt heavy, as if a stone had been placed upon it. Tears, hot, bitter tears of frustration, rolled down his temples into his hair. Why? He whispered into the darkness. Why can't I control myself? Why am I so weak? I have the dreams, I have the desire. So why do I keep failing? The ceiling offered no answers, only silence, only the crushing weight of his own disappointment. But in that darkness, a decision formed, a desperate resolve. I need help. I cannot fight this battle alone anymore. The next evening, As the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and gold, Riyan walked to the edge of the village where the old wise man lived. He lived in a small hut beneath an ancient peepul tree, his white beard flowing like a river, his eyes holding the calm of someone who had weathered every storm life could throw. Children were usually afraid of him, not because he was cruel, but because his silence was so deep it seemed to see through all pretense, all lies, all the masks people wore. But today, Riyan was not afraid. He was desperate. He found the old man sitting on a woven mat, watching the sunset with the stillness of a mountain. "Uncle?" Riyan's voice cracked, thick with emotion he could no longer contain. He fell to his knees before the old man, his hands trembling. "Uncle, please. I need your help." The old man's eyes shifted to the boy, gentle and patient. "I want to achieve something great," Riyan continued, the words pouring out like water from a broken dam. "I want to make my mother proud. I want to escape this poverty that's crushing us. I want to be anyone other than this weak, worthless version of myself." His voice broke. Tears spilled freely now, no longer held back by pride. "It runs wild like a storm I cannot control. When I try to focus, it scatters. When I try to study, it runs. When I try to work, it rebels. I feel like I'm fighting a war against myself, and I'm losing, Uncle. I'm losing every single day." He looked up at the old man, his eyes red and pleading. "Tell me, how do I stop it? How do I control this mind that refuses to obey me? How do I become the person I know I'm supposed to be?" The old man smiled. It was not a smile of amusement, but of understanding. The test. Without a word, the old man stood and walked into his hut. He returned holding a simple clay cup, the kind village potters made for a few coins. He walked to his water pot and filled the cup to the very brim, the water trembling at the edge, held only by surface tension. He handed the cup to Riyan carefully, like a sacred offering. "Do you see that big banyan tree across the field?" The old man pointed to a massive tree in the distance, its ancient branches spreading like arms embracing the sky. Riyan nodded, confused but listening. "Take this cup to that tree. Walk carefully. But remember," the old man's voice became grave, each word deliberate. "If even a single drop of water spills, even one drop, you will have failed. Do you understand?" Riyan looked at the cup. The water sat perfectly level, threatening to overflow with the slightest tremor. The journey Riyan took his first step, and immediately the water trembled. He froze, his breath catching in his throat, slowly, carefully. He took another step. The water quivered but held. The field stretched before him, maybe 200 meters of uneven ground. The path was not smooth. There were stones. But worse than the terrain were the distractions. A group of children played cricket nearby, their laughter ringing through the evening air. One of them spotted Riyan. "Riyan, come play with us, just one game." Riyan's body instinctively wanted to turn, to respond, to explain, but the water in the cup trembled dangerously. He kept his eyes locked on the surface, taking another careful step. Focus, just the cup. Only the cup. Further along, his friend Arjun appeared on the path. "Riyan, where are you going? Why are you walking like that?" Arjun laughed, thinking it was some kind of game. Riyan's mind screamed to answer, to interact, to be social. But he forced himself to remain silent, his entire world narrowing to the circle of water in his hands. One step, then another. Just the cup. The wind picked up, rustling through the fields, making the water shiver. A bird swooped close, its wings creating a sudden breeze. Riyan's hands adjusted instinctively, keeping the cup level. His mother appeared on the path ahead. "Riyan? Beta, what are you doing?" The sound of his mother's voice, the voice he loved most in the world, pulled at his attention like a physical force. Every fiber of his being wanted to look up, to meet her eyes, to explain. But he didn't. His jaw clenched. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cooling evening air. His arms began to ache from holding the cup so steadily. His legs trembled from walking so slowly, so carefully. But he kept going. The cup. Focus on the cup. Nothing else exists. Just the water, just the goal. Step by step, meter by meter, Riyan crossed that field. Every distraction in the universe seemed to conspire against him. Sounds, sights, smells, keys, memories, thoughts trying to pull his attention away. But for the first time in his life, Riyan did not surrender. His mind tried to wander, but he pulled it back. Again and again and again, like a rider controlling a wild horse, he forced his attention to stay fixed. The banyan tree grew closer. 30 meters, 20, 10, and finally, Riyan reached the massive trunk. He stood beneath its ancient branches, his hand still holding the cup perfectly level. Not a single drop had spilled. He stared at the water in disbelief. He had done it. For the first time in his life, he had truly, completely controlled his wandering mind. When Riyan reached him, the old man asked softly, "Tell me, my child, how did you do it?" Riyan was breathing heavily, not from physical exertion, but from the mental intensity of what he'd just experienced. "I thought only of the cup, Uncle. My friends called me. My mother spoke to me. The wind blew, birds flew past. My mind tried to run in 1,000 directions, but I kept pulling it back. I told myself, just the water, just the cup, nothing else matters, nothing else exists." And somehow it listened. The old man's smile deepened, and his eyes glistened with something that might have been pride, or memory, or both. He placed his weathered hand on Riyan's shoulder, the touch gentle but grounding. "That, my dear boy," Chacha said, his voice carrying the weight of ancient wisdom, "is called discipline." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Your mind is like a wild horse that has never been tamed. If you let it run wherever it wants, it will throw you down, drag you through the mud, leave you bruised and broken. It will take you everywhere except where you need to go." Riyan listened, his heart pounding, feeling the truth of every word. "But," the old man continued, "if you train that horse, if you show it again and again that you are the master, that you decide where to go, then that same wild horse will carry you anywhere you want, to the heights of mountains, across the widest rivers, to places you've only dreamed of." Tears welled up in Riyan's eyes again, but these were different tears. Not tears of frustration or defeat, tears of understanding, of revelation. "Your biggest battle is not with poverty," the old man said gently. "It is not with the world, or with opportunities, or with luck. Your biggest battle, the only battle that truly matters, is with your own mind." The old man's voice dropped to barely a whisper, but each word landed like a hammer striking an anvil. "Master your mind and you will master your life. Control your attention and you will control your destiny." Riyan walked home that evening in silence, the old man's words echoing in his soul with every step. For the first time, he understood. The problem was never his intelligence or his circumstances or his luck. The problem was his lack of discipline, his inability to control the wild horse of his mind. But now he knew it was possible. He had just done it. For 10 minutes, he had maintained absolute focus against all distractions. If he could do it for 10 minutes, he could do it for 20, for an hour, for a lifetime. That night, Riyan sat at his desk. The oil lamp flickered. The same worn textbooks lay open before him, but this time was different. When his mind tried to wander, he caught it immediately. "No," he whispered firmly. "Stay here. Focus on this page, just this page. Nothing else exists right now." His mind resisted, like that wild horse bucking against the reins. But Riyan held firm. Minutes passed, then an hour, then 2 hours. For the first time in his life, Riyan studied with true, unbroken focus. And in that focus, he found something he'd never experienced before: peace. The chaos in his mind began to settle. The storm began to calm. He felt, for the first time, like he was in control. The message to you: now, my friend, this story was not told just to entertain you. This story is about you. Right now, as you hear these words, ask yourself, is my mind a trained horse or a wild one? When you sit down to work, does your mind obey you? Or does it rebel, dragging you toward social media, toward distractions, toward anything except what you know you should be doing? When you set a goal, do you follow through? Or do you let your wandering thoughts steal your focus, your time, your future? The truth is, most people lose not because they lack talent or opportunity. They lose because they never learn to control their own minds. Your phone buzzes and immediately you check it. You're not in control, the notification is. A friend calls and you abandon your work. You're not in control, the distraction is. A thought appears and you follow it down a rabbit hole. You're not in control, your mind is. But you can change this, right now, today. Discipline is not a talent you're born with. It's a skill you build brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by moment. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you train the horse. Every time you say no to temptation and yes to your goals, you strengthen the reins. Every time you catch your wandering mind and bring it back, you become the master instead of the slave.